Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Spotlight. I am Teresa Myrick with Action Coach Tampa Bay, and we are here again with another wonderful business owner here. This is Dean Bartles. So, Dean, would you just mind just telling us who you are and what you do here in this area?
Sure. So I'm the CEO of a not-for-profit company called the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group. We're a company that does a lot of business with the Department of Defense. We also help small medium manufacturers with their journey towards smart manufacturing. Another term you might hear is Industry 4.0. We have about 54 employees. They're based mainly in Pennsylvania and Ohio, a few here in Clearwater, Florida, where the headquarters is. And I've been doing this now since 2019. Prior to that, I spent 31 years with General Dynamics Corporation. I set up manufacturing plants in Egypt and Turkey, and I ran several manufacturing plants here in the United States. So really rich career in the defense business, and now the last 3 years working for this not-for-profit.
Wonderful. That's very extensive. So, tell me over the last few years, what obstacles have you had to overcome?
Yeah, well, certainly COVID was a big one, right? So we were all working out of the same office together until COVID hit. So we immediately had to switch to a work from home type of environment. That required my IT department to provide all the employees with the computers and the microphones and the cameras and the training needed to be able to jump on Zoom calls like you and I are doing right now. And we were able to successfully make that pivot fairly smoothly. We really were fortunate that it didn't impact our business. But keep in mind, we don't do any actual manufacturing ourselves. The companies that do manufacturing, that have people on the shop floor that are making, widgets, they were really impacted, because it was really hard to keep the manufacturing lines running during that time. So, but it was a huge obstacle for us as well as many of our subcontractors. But the good news is we navigated through those waters pretty successfully. In fact, I think in 2019 we finished our fiscal year at around 27 million. In 2020 we finished around 32 million, and then of course the next year, our fiscal year 21, was the majority of the COVID months that everyone was working from home. We actually grew. We actually ended up growing, and I think we did about 49 million. So we're doing very well. We've created a couple of different companies over the last couple of years to do different things, but our primary business is with the Department of Defense.
Gotcha. How does that trickle down to small businesses? Like, how does what you do help small businesses?
So our biggest strength is our relationship with various program offices in the Department of Defense. So we have a very, very close customer, centric organization, customer focused, and we learn about problems and challenges that these various program offices have in the Department of Defense, and then we work through companies that we call our alliance partners. Doesn't cost anything for a company to become an alliance partner, but typically our alliance partners have a niche technology that is unique. And we can then identify which of these alliance partners, we have over 150 so far, which of those might have a particular technology solution that could lend itself to this challenge or problem that the Department of Defense Program Office has.
Okay.
So then we work with them and put together a proposal. And other than our relationship with the customers, our other strengths are we're experts at DoD contracting, which what's called the DFARS, the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulations, very, very complicated area. A lot of small businesses have no idea how to navigate those waters. And we're also experts in government accounting rules, which again, a lot of small businesses have no idea what's involved with government accounting rules. So we end up being what you might call the prime contractor. We will negotiate the contract directly with the DoD, and then we award subcontracts to the partners, a lot of whom are small businesses that have this technology solution. And then we oversee their progress and make sure that they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's and filing the reports and filing the invoices. Frankly, we, believe it or not, a lot of small companies are late in filing their invoices to get paid, and we have to remind them, look, this is the DoD, they will pay you. You just got to prepare all the backup paperwork to get paid.
Right.
But it's been a great run that we've had the last several years, and I see nothing but upside going forward.
Awesome. That's good. So that helps me to understand a lot more
Sure.
about what you do. So thank you for that.
Sure.
So what keeps you motivated? What keeps you motivated day to day?
Well, my father had a small machine shop that I grew up in when I was a child. I can remember being 8 years old and hanging out in my dad's shop. It was right in the backyard, and it was just a one-man operation. He made ornamental iron railing for homes and other miscellaneous welding jobs as they came into the shop. But seeing my dad go through what it's like to maintain an ongoing business concern as a sole proprietor, I just have a passion for that. And so even though my path took me a different direction, I ended up working for very large defense companies. I think my 31 years at General Dynamics, I saw them grow to about 40 couple billion a year. But when I decided to take an early retirement from General Dynamics back in 2014, I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my career helping small, medium manufacturers with their journey. There's so much that's changing in this new, what some people refer to as the fourth industrial revolution, what the Germans call Industry 4.0. That there's so many new technologies, and many of the small businesses simply don't have the time or the expertise to really understand and evaluate which of those technologies would be applicable to their business. So that's what I created this a new not-for-profit under the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group that I call Advanced Manufacturing International. And our focus is to help them understand these new technologies and help them get better. And that's what all of us want for small businesses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what do you foresee? You mentioned, future projects. So what do you foresee as a challenge for you in the future?
Well, we've tried for 2 years under this new not-for-profit that I created, as I mentioned, called Advanced Manufacturing International. We tried for 2 years to get some of the small businesses to understand, it doesn't really require a huge investment. One of the first things that we think a small business, a small manufacturer should consider doing in order to begin their journey towards this smart manufacturing Industry 4.0 path is to get some of their machines connected to an IoT edge device that will be able to collect a tremendous amount of in-process data as those machines are running. Okay. And through that data, we can do analysis that determine what other things they could do to make those machines run more efficiently. Some of the newer technologies that you hear talked about are things like predictive maintenance. Believe it or not, most machine shops today, they do what might be called preventive maintenance, where every 90 days they'll change the coolant or change the oil or whatever. Right. Predictive maintenance, because you add sensors to machines and you can determine from vibration patterns or acoustic emissions, you might know that a bearing is going to fail within a certain period of time, and that way you can schedule the weekend shift to maintenance crew on the weekends to replace that, as opposed to interrupting your first shift production where you really lose valuable time. So that's the path that we were trying to go down. I got to tell you, it's very hard to convince the small companies to look at these things, because most of them are just worried about running every day and keeping the lights on, and they really don't have time to investigate some of the newer technologies. So what we've decided to do is a shift towards the educational market. So I'm currently in discussions with St. Pete College, for example. We're looking at how can we help them facilitate their labs to be able to offer this kind of technology training to the students that are coming through their manufacturing technologist type programs. So we're working with them, and we've hired a lobbyist in the state of Florida that we think will help us help St. Pete College, frankly, get some grant money from the state to be able to facilitate and provide them with things like 3D printers. Additive manufacturing is the new buzzword in manufacturing. Additive manufacturing is a fancier term for 3D printing. But for 25 years there, you've seen 3D printing making what you might call prototypes, plastic models that the engineers can hold in their hands and look at and better understand the design. But over the last 10 years, it's really shifted to metal additive manufacturing. So now they have machines where you spread a layer of dust, metal dust, literally metal dust, onto a platform inside of a chamber. and then a laser hits that metal dust and melts it into a specific pattern. The table lowers a little tiny bit, you spread another layer, and you repeat that process hundreds and if not thousands of times to build up any kind of a part design that your mind can imagine. And in some cases that your mind can't imagine, because the newest trend in software design is this area called generative design, where the computer takes the different parameters, the key properties, the strengths at certain areas, the dimensions, et cetera, and it'll generate the designs automatically that you would never think of, that are much more complex, but much lighter in weight. And that's sort of the new area that a lot of the companies are getting into. So, but that's an area that I think the colleges need help, because the equipment's really expensive. And we can help them not only secure the funds to procure the necessary equipment to train the students on, but we can also help with curriculum. We have alliance partners like, for example, Tooling U, which is a sub chapter of the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. They offer tremendous amount of virtual training in these manufacturing areas. So we can hook them up with Tooling U, and they can offer that kind of training to the students. But the real hands-on training in the lab is what's critical, and that's where the schools need help. So we're starting with St. Pete College because it's right here in my backyard, but eventually we'd like to proliferate that model through community colleges throughout the state and then beyond the state of Florida.
Wonderful. I have been educated in this short 15 minutes. This is awesome. It's just fascinating to know what else is going on behind the scenes that we don't see. So this is very fascinating to me, and I'm sure our audience will find it as interesting. So is there anything that you want to leave with our community before we close out?
Well, the main thing is, technology can be scary. I would just encourage everyone to, continue to pursue that knowledge and read the magazines. Believe it or not, the magazines like Manufacturing Engineering, great magazine to see what's out there, what are these new technologies, and then find a company like mine, to be honest, but others as well. There's also in every state there's what's called an MEP. It's a Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program that is run through NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, out of Gaithersburg, Maryland. It's a federal funded organization, and every state has an MEP where a small manufacturer can go get help to understand what's available and so forth. And then they're going to recommend companies like mine and others that will help them deploy those technologies. That's why I called the company the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group, because what we want to do is deploy the technologies and help the small medium manufacturing community. Yeah.
Wonderful. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. And